My name is Freddie Wong. Who am I? Some of you may be wondering. I have a company called RocketJump. And since 2010, we've been making high-octane, action-packed, comedic short films and web series. Stuff has been up on YouTube. Stuff has been blogged about, sent around. I'll give you a little bit of much easier to show you what we do rather than you know, talk about it. And really quick, I need to point out that this is not a real roller coaster, because we get a lot of people asking us, where can we ride this roller coaster that will physically kill you? And it turns out no such roller coaster exists. But this is a little bit of montage of everything we've done over the past few years.
What's up, future mothers of my children? Guys, this is so cool!
We need guns!
Boss, I roll with the Wong gang now.
Hey man, how you doing?
Are you ready to kick some ass?
Again, not real.
What you know about video editing software?
Special moves. Let me see what we got.
Dude, are you kidding me?
It's not fair that you got all the special moves. I don't know a single one. Which one should I do? It's ridiculous. There's so many of them.
Awesome!
Great job.
Yeah, great job. Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks for watching.
So yeah, a range of stuff. To date, our YouTube channel and our content has been viewed over 1 billion times. We're at 1.1 billion, and we're over 7.5 million subscribers. So we've, you know, it's funny, when we first started out YouTube in 2010, the prevailing knowledge was, oh yeah, YouTube. That's where it's mostly female on YouTube, because there's a lot of vlogs and a lot of girls watch vlogs. I'm not kidding. This was the prevailing knowledge of YouTube at the time. And we're like, well, surely if we make videos that have, like, you know, action and explosions, certainly teenage guys out there on the internet would find that. There must be teenage guys on the internet, right? Turns out there are. Turns out there's a lot of teenage guys on the internet. So that ended up being a good prediction on our part. So we've done a lot of short form stuff. I'm going to show you here really quickly one of the videos we did to sort of, again, that sort of exemplifies what we do, which is, again, a blend of action, visual effects, comedy. This is a short that we did about a year ago called Whose Plane Is It Anyway?
You're from Kansas, right? They make corn there. I'm a big corn guy. Love corn.
Excuse me, everyone. There are no pilots. Can anybody fly the plane?
There's probably nothing.
I can't.
Wallet and phone. turn that down?
They're both dead. Can somebody please fly the plane?
Gotta do everything around here.
I'll fly this plane.
Believe it or not, by the way, that we shot that we didn't have a joke for the end, and we're like, we need another person on this plane. As you'll probably notice, we shot that at an airplane set. There were like 3 people on that entire plane the whole time, and we're like, we need another joke. Maybe we need a pilot costume for one of our friends, Ben, there at the end, who plays a male stripper. And our costume designer was like, this is all I could find. There's a Halloween store down the street. There's a pilot costume. We're like, Ben, you look like a stripper. We're like, wait, Ben, you look like a stripper. This is perfect. So funny, sometimes you can find the solutions to your narrative problems by sheer happenstance and luck. I wouldn't rely on it, though. We haven't only just done YouTube-length content and YouTube Shorts. In 2011, we did a series called Video Game High School. Video Game High School was our flagship long-form series, 3 seasons, 21 episodes, and we were averaging 30 minutes per episode, which is a lot longer than you might necessarily think of immediately when you think YouTube content and stuff that you see necessarily on your phones. We released, it actually just, the 3rd season finished up last year, all 3 seasons available pretty much everywhere, RocketJump, our site, YouTube, Netflix just went up yesterday. And what's interesting about it is, we've had this viewed a lot of times, but we had better retention on longer form content than we did on the short viral stuff, like the things that you saw there. And the challenge was to go from, how do you go from short, fun, viral, action type of stuff to longer form, to telling a story. And that was a challenge that we sort of tackled in 2011. And every year we were trying different things. And it really kind of came down to a focus on story, a focus on character, and starting with an audience that we had built up. The strategy as a whole was very basic. We realized that it's very difficult to get people to watch your stuff in general. There's a lot of stuff out there. We used to joke that like YouTube always talks about how they don't want to compete with television, but it's not true, because YouTube does compete with television. If you think about it, everything competes with television. Wikipedia competes with television. Tumblr competes with television. Everything. When Gone with the Wind came out in the 40s, right? It was something ridiculous. Within a year, something like 85% of the entire United States population watched Gone with the Wind. Partly because there was not that many other movies to watch. There's not a lot of different sort of entertainment options out there. But now we're in an environment where you have so many other things you can do. You have video games, you have blogs, you could be sitting around reading Wikipedia for 2 hours. All fantastic uses of your time, but also all uses of a finite slice of your pie for every single individual person out there. There's only so much time that you can dedicate on a day-to-day basis to entertainment. And that's what everything is competing with. And we realize you need an audience first. It's much more difficult to try and get something, launch it out of the blue and try and hope an audience attaches to it. It's much more difficult to do that. What's easier is to build an audience first, have an audience invested in what you do as content creators, and then serve that audience. At the time, the analogy that we were looking at was guys like Kevin Smith and filmmakers like Tarantino and guys like that they have a built-in audience, and they may not necessarily do something that's popular, mainstream, or what have you, but they had an audience that they served. So this is just a quick little trailer for Video Game High School Seasons 1 through 3 to give you an idea of what this series is and what it looks like.
Game with the best of the best. And you have one last chance to make that happen.
Let's get in there and just play some video games.
This is how you live!
You gotta come see this.
You are worthy. Yowza! Very charming.
This thing's the real deal.
Pound it.
Just follow me!
You can't be the best unless you be yourself.
Let the games begin.
To the end of the world.
This is my home. You guys are my family.
At the end of the day, it's all about the game.
Hi. Law? I think you should go be gross somewhere else now. Okay, so if you could just stop doing this. Well, now, how would you feel if someone... You're being very rude.
So that's Video Game High School. And so first and foremost, I think one of the things I want to talk about is when you think web series and web content, I think you have to take whatever conception you have and erase it, because that definition changes constantly. In just a second, I'm actually, if you've seen this presentation yesterday, I'm going to go a little bit faster through it because I'm going to invite my buddies Sam and Nico from Corridor Digital up here in just a second. But they recently just completed a series on Snapchat called Snapper Hero, and it's got to be the first ever anything shot in vertical video format, because that's what Snapchat is. People are watching this in a vertical format. It was shot in vertical video format. The kind of thing that I think for most filmmakers kind of like immediately have a gut reaction to when you hear that they had the phone sideways and were shooting most of the series in that aspect ratio, right? But the point is, I think if there's anything to take away from this, it's that online audiences are going to find content that they like and that they attach to, and it doesn't matter about content length. What matters is content quality. And quality more than ever. Content is king more than ever, because we're in an environment where you don't have to watch something. If you really don't like something and it doesn't really affect you emotionally, you're clicking out of that. You don't care. You just move on to the next thing because you have so many other ways to fill your time, right? So if something isn't there that's grabbing you, you can't just rely, I think, on slick advertising and getting stuff out there and making sure people mention it on social. If it doesn't stick, if it doesn't grab, if it doesn't emotionally hold you in some way, that type of content doesn't last. So speaking of Video Game High School, again, whatever your idea for like low budget web series stuff is, we definitely weren't doing that. We shot this on essentially every single format and camera known to man. We were on Epic 4K through 6K. We had GoPros 2 through 4. Every single GoPro version at some point has shot a frame for Video Game High School. Canon cameras, Blackmagic, we had Panasonic broadcast cameras. Conan O'Brien had a small cameo in the 3rd season. They shot that on Panasonic broadcast cam. They brought it back. Over 60 terabytes of storage, and we were using a network storage solution provided by OpenDrives to edit that footage. And I say the Canon 1DC, that's a little bit dishonest. The Canon 1DC we had for one shot, which was this shot. There's a drone shot. Looked good at first. Yeah, there it is. So that was the one shot for the Canon 1DC. The camera survived, by the way, which is, good job, Canon. You guys made a camera that can take a nosedive pretty well. Here's what's interesting on the editorial side, and this is why we're speaking, why we're here at the Adobe booth today, is we switched over from a Mac-based Final Cut workflow in 2011. We switched over to Premiere. And we realized Premiere is really the only thing out there that allowed us to take the variety of formats that we were shooting and to be able to do the things that we wanted to do with it. I don't like offline online. I don't like doing transcoding. What we were doing for this is we were taking red raw footage, 4K through 6K, 6K in order to allow us to reframe on the HP Z840s, Z820s. Graphics card, it was just a regular games graphics card. And we were editing red raw 4K, 3 editors simultaneously over the network without having to do offline online. And a lot of people were talking about Fincher and what he was doing with Gone Girl in terms of doing they were shooting that and they were doing all this stuff. And it was funny because we were looking at that and we're just like, wait a minute, Fincher's still transcoding the ProRes before he edits. He's still doing proxies. We're not even bothering with proxies because we don't want to go through that step. For us, that's an additional expense, it's additional time. Our turnaround was more important than that. And also our post-production budget required us, I would rather spend more money on cool visual effects shots than having to bring in someone to match up and do an online for it. So I guess the biggest difference is Fincher has better PR people than we do. But the difference is, what we were able to do with Video Game High School was pushing the envelope every single season. Seasons 2 and 3, we were doing, even in season 2, high frame rate. 48 frames a second for in-game sequences, 24 frames a second. We were doing mixed frame rate sequences. And we were throwing basically everything we could at Premiere in the editorial process, having no problems with it. And as you saw, a lot of the visual effects, so we were doing a lot of round tripping. And what that allows us to do between Premiere and After Effects is a lot of the visual effects that we did, we qualified as kind of type B, not important hero visual effect shots. Cleanups, paint-outs, small additions, camera reframing, camera stabilization, all the kind of stuff that After Effects can handle easily, no problem. Even an editor can handle that on their own. We were able to do those just in After Effects to pop that out and not have to send those out to our visual effects company, Playfight, up in Toronto, which allowed them to not dedicate people on their team to doing cleanups and easy fixes. They could sit and spend more time on the hero shots. And then, it's not just for us, it's not just being able to turn stuff around quickly. And we have a lot of different types of content that we do at RocketJump. We have weekly videos. Behind the scenes, we do podcasts as a video podcast, ancillary content. Currently, our record from conception to final product has been 72 hours. And that is coming up with the idea, shooting it, putting it together and bringing it online and doing it quickly. And this is the kind of stuff that we're able to do with the Creative Cloud integration and on the software side. We're throwing every camera that we can at it, and what we're doing is we're making sure that our software end is able to handle that and able to take the sort of high turnaround time. Because for each of these shorts that we do, we're essentially going through the same process as a feature film. We're doing pre-production, storyboarding, shooting, editing, color correct, sound design pass, music pass. It's all essentially compressed down, but it's every step of the process that you would do for a feature film. The other thing that we're doing this year that we're very excited about is we're launching what we're calling the RocketJump Film School. And the film school is very important for us, and we're going to actually talk a little bit about editing here in just a second. How many people here are Premiere editors? Oh, good. You guys will get something out of this, I hope. How many of you here are editors in general or ever touch the post-production side of things? Good. So we're working with Samsung and Rode. We're doing essentially a film course because what we realize is it's very easy to find tutorials online right now that tell you how to use your tools, right? It's very easy to find something that says, hey, here's how you edit, and here's how you do this effect. What's very difficult is finding something that tells you why you're going to use that effect, how to approach something from a story perspective. And that's something that we realized was severely lacking. The equivalent would be, right now, you could probably find a bunch of tutorials. It's the analogy that I use is you find a bunch of tutorials that tell you how to swing a hammer and pound nails in the wood, but not a lot of tutorials tell you how do you take those skills and build a house with it. And our goal with RocketJump Film School is to learn how to build a house. We're calling it film education for the digital age. Now, really quick, if we can switch over to the Mac screen here up top. It should be Premiere. In terms of the video feed, I wanted to get into a little bit some of the editing stuff that we do. And I'd like to invite Sam and Nico up here right now to join me. So real quick, Sam and Nico from Quarter Digital, they also have a
What's up, guys?
They have a fantastic YouTube channel of their own. So, really quick, we're gonna do what we're calling a tip-off here. We're gonna throw some of the stuff that we do in Premiere out one at a time, and we'll see who goes first. All right, first things first. How many people have the default keyboard shortcut set up in Premiere? Oh, so everyone's got custom? Who's got custom keys? Raise your hands. All right, I'm gonna do the very first thing here, keyboard shortcuts. For me, and someone else has it in there, right? So me, the first thing that I see a lot of people do in terms of editing is zooming in and zooming out, and it kills me because what you're dealing with is you're never gonna be looking at another side of the timeline. You're gonna want to pop in wherever your playhead is, right? So I'm gonna go to the Premiere default and then go to zoom. And the two that I do, zoom in, I do Z, and then zoom out, Shift Z, and I keep everything on the left side of the keyboard. So when I pop in, I'm in and out like that. Sam,
Whoa,
Nico.
slow down, Freddie. Slow down.
Sam and Nico here.
You're losing me.
Also do a lot of YouTube stuff. What do you guys? What are some of the stuff that you guys do in Premiere?
All right. Well, here's a sweet bro tip. When we trade tips with Freddie, we call them bro tips, not pro tips. So one of my favorite tools here is when I'm scrubbing around and I'm doing my edit and I'm checking a shot here, the F button is my favorite button. Now, I don't know if how many of you guys came over from Final Cut Pro 7 back in the day, but Final Cut, you could pull up another clip in your bin really quickly by double-clicking on it. Problem was, you'd have your in and out points set, and if you mess with them, they mess with the in and out points in your timeline. So the F button just simply matches that frame, but now you can change those in and out points however you want and pull that clip back in and change it. Also, it's a great way to grab audio if you deleted the audio from a clip and you want to keep it synced.
Sick bro tip. Here's a big one here, guys. We're going to do ripple trim, next edit to playhead, ripple trim previous edit to playhead, and then we're going to do...
So you set up your keyboard like it's a first-person shooter?
Go to the next edit point. Exactly. Exactly. So I think we kind of have gamer backgrounds, and one of the things that kind of helped us with that is we like to not move our hands. And I think that for editing, philosophy-wise, for me, editing is about editing at speed of thought, right? Editing can be a very reactive process. Editing can be you're interacting with actors, or especially dramatic acting. You're looking up there, and you're trying to find the moments to organically pick your vantage points within the scene. It does not work if you're spending 3 seconds looking down at their hands and trying to find the tool to switch that around, And I think that that's something that allows, what I like a lot about what you can do at Premiere is a lot of these commands get brought out into the keyboard shortcut side. So real quick, I'm gonna show you next edit point, previous edit point, A and S. So again, this is all under the left hand here, which allows you then sort of jump around. And what I like to do here is D, ripple trim, previous edit to playhead, F, ripple trim next edit to playhead. So for example, let's say let's preview this shot here. Here's a car. It's going. Person gets out. And we're cutting to this. I want this sooner. Instead of having to deal with here, blade tool, select, or even if you have a blade tool shortcut, or sliding out and then sliding around on it, I'll go to here. And as soon as this person gets out, I'm going to back that up to here. Boom, F brings it over there, and we're next here. And then let's say the next shot, we're here sooner. I like the flare there. I'm going to start with the flare as it passes here. D brings it back, and now we've done, essentially with 2 keyboard commands, a lot of stuff that normally people are taking a lot of time to do.
Dude, I didn't know about that.
Ripple trim, D and F, A and S. And then, again, in terms of layout, I leave everything on the left hand. So additionally, instead of doing next frame, step back 1 frame, step forward 1 frame, left and right, usually your arrow keys. Because my left hand's already on the ASD side of things, I'll step back with E, step forward with R. Step back many frames, I'll do Shift E, Shift R, which then allows us to, let's say we're really coming in here and fine-tuning this edit. I can back it up, go to here, trim that back, and then go again. Maybe I want the flare to end. I want to start back there, back it up, play it. And again, this whole time, you can do a lot of editing then without ever having to touch the mouse. For me, it's about as less as you touch the mouse as possible, the better and faster I think you're able to do it. And it's not about being impressive in terms of speed. It's not about trying to show off, oh, here's how fast I can cut something, and here's and trying to show off in that way. But what it allows you to do is you're not having to spend so much time worrying about, okay, well, so I'm seeing him starting to throw the thing down. Okay, I don't want that, but I saw that right away, so I'm just going to trim that back, and now I don't have to deal with that anymore, and we're already good, and we're going and moving on to the next cut. Sam, what do you got?
If you want to take your hands off the keyboard, you might want to consider using a macro application like Voice Attack using Windows speech recognition software. You can import every single shortcut, and you don't even have to touch the keyboard once. You just speak the lines into your microphone.
Please tell me you've done this.
And you let you let the program work on its own.
Something tells me, Sam, you've never done that before.
Oh, it's on my computer though. You should see it. It's only a very recent development though.
Cool. And, I think again, I think for us, what it kind of comes down to is tool sets and everything only get you so far, right? And at the same time, you kind of owe it yourself to be up to date, to know as much as you can possibly know with what you're doing, because there's so many things that we talk about which seem redundant on set. And when I say like redundant, when I sort of talk about that, what's more important and the takeaway there is redundancy on set. At the end of the day, it's money, right? So if you're able to save stuff on set and time on set to do something, and not have to deal with that, you might save, say, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. That might be enough for you to grab 2 extra takes at the end of the day, 3 extra takes at the end of the day, if you're trying to do a 12-hour turnaround. And for us to be able to do what we've done stuff very efficiently. Generally, Sam and Nico, you guys are a 2-man crew.
Pretty much.
And you guys are doing everything by yourselves. Our crew sizes are very small, and a lot of people wear a lot of hats. And I think it's a tough growing pain that this whole industry is going to be going through very soon, which is, I think that, frankly, a lot of stuff needs to be made cheaper. And it's not an easy pill to swallow. It's not a message I think a lot of people want to hear. But the fact is, take the supply of entertainment out there and how much of it is readily available. And when you are facing such a torrent of information and of entertainment out there, you can't afford to be spending as much per minute to create high-quality content. So in the end, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is how to achieve and maintain a high level of quality of content without having to sacrifice story, character, and without necessarily sacrificing production design and the look of everything. It's going to be a very challenging time, and I think for us, it gets exemplified in our careers in that we're bridging this gap between amateur filmmaker on YouTube, seems to be free to watch, seems to be disposable content, and what some people consider higher quality, say like television and feature films. I think that line becomes more and more blurred as time goes on, especially given the fact that a lot of the audience that's growing up now is not used to following the rules of traditional, right? They're watching on smartphones, they're watching on tablets. Video Game High School, for example, we saw 60%, 50 to 60% of all of our viewers, all 110 million views of Video Game High School, a show with, by the way, episodes up to an hour in length. We're watching that show on smartphones and tablets. And even myself, I did not expect that much of a gap between regular viewers. I was expecting people to be watching on computers or televisions or smart TVs rather than doing things on phones and tablets. So it's definitely a different world that we're going to. And for us, a lot of the way that we found success is utilizing tool sets and becoming efficient with the tools that we have available. We do have a little bit of time. I do want to take questions. It's always more fun to hear from you guys and sort of get a sense of what you guys want to hear and talk about. So actually, I'll borrow a mic here real quick. Yeah, hey.
Now that you've finished the 3rd season of Video Game High
Thank you.
School, is there any other long-term projects that you're looking forward to or that you're particularly planning?
Yeah, so here's what's going on for us this year. We have 2 projects after post-Video Game High School. It unlocked a lot for us. Last year, we had a content deal with Lionsgate that we signed. So we're doing a show on Hulu, and we're going to be doing another show with Lionsgate called Dimension 404. It's going to be a Twilight Zone anthology sci-fi series. So for us, the focus is going off of just short-form content. We're still still doing that, but the focus is to go to longer-form series-length content. Questions, questions, questions?
Yeah, on the revenue stream for that, when you first got started, was it just from YouTube? Obviously, the Lionsgate thing would be...
It was a mix, right? So revenue, that's always the question, right? How do you do longer form stuff and make money off of it? Sam and Nico, you guys have a Patreon. Can you talk about that?
Well, right now, the biggest thing we found, like we started making 2-3 minute long, viral video hits, and we're still continuing that. But when you want to get to those strong narrative points, it's like you're not necessarily finding a niche. You're not digging as many views out of that as you want. You're making something original, something you care about. And we found that actually using this site called Patreon actually is so far the best way to help support that, and we've been using that recently as well. And basically, it acts like a voluntary subscription. It's crowdfunding on a even more micro scale, on a one-off scale. But that definitely is a great way to support it.
For us, our funding sources were always a variety of places. It was crowdfunding. We ran Kickstarter, Indiegogo campaigns for all 3 seasons. It was a mix of private investment. Season 2, you saw a lot of car stuff in that trailer. We were sponsored by Dodge. We were finding money wherever and whenever it was. And to be honest, the end result of this 3 seasons of Video Game High School, what we realized was the best way to get stuff funded at this point, what we realized is it has to be, I think it needs to be paid for. And I think YouTube is definitely not a company that's interested in paying really for content at the level that we're doing. To give you an example, season 3 is a $2.5 million budget, 180 minutes, $2.5 million budget, which is, for those of you familiar with television budgets, a very small budget, especially if we're talking about visual effects driven, action driven content. And the key was, it wasn't that we needed tons and tons of money to get that done. It was about being smart with what little resources we did have and maximizing those. Questions?
Yeah. How would you recommend finding an audience for people who are looking?
Say that one more time. Finding what?
How would you recommend people find an audience for people who are like trying to?
So finding an audience is interesting. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. When we started, audience is always a tough problem. It's a tough challenge because the internet changes so often. For us, the internet that we started at in 2010, 5 years ago at this point, is a totally different look than it is now, right? So for us, we saw a niche in terms of the kind of content that we like to create, and we found that niche, and we were able to utilize that in terms of action content. It was the same thing that you guys were doing as well. It's a lot harder now, and I would say really what it comes down to is start small, find communities, but most importantly is to start with content that you like to actually make yourself. You cannot survive in this environment if you're making content for the sole purpose of trying to generate views or just sole purpose of trying to drive up ad revenue with your videos. It's just not you're not going to be able to sustain on that. So find that Venn diagram of things you like doing and hopefully things that people like to watch and having as much overlap as possible with that, and that's the thing, the first place to start, the first question you have to ask yourself.
I will also, to add to that question, in regards to finding that audience and expanding, if you try to find that core of what people want to see, of like that group that you're appealing to, that demographic, of that common trait that they share, that will help them, because at the beginning, starting out, you have to rely on people sharing your videos. You have to rely on a couple fans liking your stuff and then sharing it to their friends who they think will also like it. So you want to try to find that one thing that they share, that they find as a common experience, and you want to turn to that and exploit that for your video and make it about that so people feel inspired to show it to their friends. And then your audience will start to grow.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We're going to be off to the side here answering questions and talking to you guys for a little bit. So stick around. Plenty of stuff coming up here. And thank you very much. Have a good show, everybody.